In May 1978, torrential rain in Kucha County caused the Kucha River to overflow and threaten nearby ancient architectural sites. Local cultural preservation officials inspected the sites after the rain stopped. At the foot of a tall mound, they discovered that the rain had revealed a cave entrance. After they cleared a little around the entrance, they found an ancient tomb. Although the burial chamber had collapsed, a wooden coffin remained.
一口彩棺，下边还有一个棺床。 彩棺当然也棺盖呀也都腐朽了，这个墓主人呢，这个骨架呢，还是很完整的。
Color drawings could be seen all over the coffin. A fancy coffin indicates that the person inside was someone very special.
通过鉴定呢，看他的这个年龄啊，从牙齿啊到骨盆来说的话，很可能我们估计呢，她是一个20岁左右的一个女性。
There must have been some unusual circumstance for this woman to die so young. Experts looked for answers in the skeleton. They soon focused on the skull. It appears as though experts then found some tiny bones around the pelvis. Some thought that they belonged to small animals, but experienced archaeologists quickly realized the tiny bones were those of a baby. The baby was unborn, and this means that she probably died in childbirth. But that doesn't explain her flattened forehead. Experts eventually found the answer in Xuanzang's book, Great Tongue Records on the Western Regions. According to this book, the Kucha people traditionally altered the shapes of their heads. Wooden splints on the front and back of the children's skulls gradually disfigured the shape as they grew. The nobility did this to set themselves apart from commoners. This particular woman was probably a princess or a queen. When she died in labor, people buried her in the most luxurious coffin of the time. There was a large mound above the tomb. Earlier archaeological investigations had showed that this mound was the site of a Buddhist pagoda. This was the first time that someone had been found buried under a Buddhist pagoda in Xinjiang. That was an even bigger mystery than the death of the woman. People are very aware of the strong Islamic presence in Xinjiang today, and the people of Kucha have followed Islam for 1,000 years. But 1,000 years before the arrival of Islam, when it was called Kucha, people believed in Buddhism even then. Buddhism was born in India in the 6th century BC. When it spread outside India, the people of the East were attracted to its wisdom. Because of population migration, introduction of different religions and the destruction of war, it's hard to find traces of Buddhism today in the ancient kingdom of Kucha. Although in poor shape, the Buddhist pagoda is the most intact in Kucha. From the top of the mound, it can be seen that ruined walls once enclosed a huge building complex. Walking around these mounds, you might mistake them for natural landforms. Xinjiang has many such landforms, often called ghost towns, formed by water and wind erosion. But close inspection reveals traces of carvings and habitation. This is called the Subhash Ruins. It's the largest cluster of former Buddhist sites in Xinjiang today. There should be historical records of such a major religious site. In his Great Tang Records on the Western region, Xuanzang wrote that he visited a magnificent temple in Kucha called Jiaohuli. He said that he had not encountered such a beautiful and large temple since he entered the Western region. He stayed there for more than 60 days, preaching about Buddhism every day. Xuanzang wrote that the temple was 20 kilometers north of an abandoned city and that 2 temple buildings faced each other across a river. It seems possible that the Subhash ruins are the site of the Jiaohuli temple from the Tang dynasty, which was between 618 and 907 AD. The Subhash ruins are north of Kucha County, beside the broad Kucha River. On the other side of the river is another Buddhist pagoda in fair shape. Experts believe that there used to be a Buddhist statues in niches in the walls surrounding. Most experts agree that the Subhash ruins used to be the site of the Jiaohuli temple. On his way to India, Xuanzang was ceremoniously welcomed at the Jiaohuli temple and invited to preach there. When he left, the king of Kucha gave him many expensive gifts, and the people came to see him off. Xuanzang was then inspired to write about the experience. These features indicate that the Kucha kingdom was a Buddhist theocracy and that the Subhash ruins used to be a royal temple. Experts found more clues when they examined the skeleton unearthed from the ruins. In the tattered remains of her clothes, researchers found a gold embroidery thread. Among the items at the burial site was a carved wooden dragon's head.
圆雕的这个龙首，当时呢，我们估计是在这个棺床的某个部位，后来是掉下来了。
那这个它是当时一种习俗，代表身份啊和地位这种象征啊。和现在咱们这个汉民族这是一样的。
These clues all indicate that the woman was royalty. But followers of Buddhism were cremated after their death, after which their ashes were placed in jars and buried. Something didn't quite fit. Yang Xianzhe wrote about burial customs in an ancient book called The Monasteries of Liaoyang. He reported that in Youtian, a Buddhist kingdom, the cremated bones of deceased commoners were buried. Members of the royal family, however, were buried after death instead of being cremated. Experts believe that the same custom prevailed in Kucha. The woman buried below the Buddha pagoda in the Subash ruins was the concubine of a Kucha king. Historical records from the time indicate that Kucha was probably divided into 3 concentric sections. The outer city was similar to Chang'an, or now Xi'an, and included nearly 1,000 temples and a magnificent royal palace. Since the Subash Buddhist temple was reportedly about 20 kilometers from the royal palace, experts believe that ancient Kucha kingdom would have been somewhere around the old and new city in today's Kucha. There are few traces of the elaborate royal palace in today's busy city.
在《大唐西记》里有记载，就说龟兹古城四面里面有4个墩，这个墩呢是在龟兹古城东南角一个最大的一个墩。这个皮囊呢是当地的一个维吾尔族的一个名称，翻译成我们汉语呢就是大象的意思啊。这个好多人对这个名称嘛这个不理解，因为说西域这块自古以来嘛没有大象。 为什么起了一个大象这么一个名字呢？我的意思啊，我的理解吧，就是大象吧，因为这个墩呢，它体量很大，东西长是30多米，南北宽呢也25米之多，高呢现在残高呢是14米、15米高。如果站在远处看呢，就像卧在这的一个大象一样，所以它起了它的一个比喻意，像大象一样的这么一个墩，一个大墩。
For centuries, today's ruins were the site of a major city, and the site has been continuously occupied since prehistoric times. The palace is long gone now. Only 4 stone blocks remain, reminding people of what it might have looked like in the past. Later, parts of the ancient city walls were discovered. This discovery indicated that the city had a circumference of about 7,000 meters. tomb below the Subhash Buddhist temple helped reveal a picture of Kucha in its prime. But the picture is still clouded by this woman's tragic death. Experts say that the tomb had probably been robbed. Part of the body was hanging out of the coffin, but the excellent state of the skeleton seems to indicate the robbery happened not long after the burial, because the body had not begun to decay. This seems to be a strange incident for a royal temple. It would be impossible to solve this mystery today. But we do know that the woman was of royal birth and that her life was tragic, not unlike the fate of the ancient kingdom of Kucha. The word Kucha appeared first in the Han book of the Western region, so we know that Kucha was already a state around 200 BC. To the east, the powerful Han Empire was growing in power and eyeing its neighbor to the west.
汉没有统一西域之前，就是匈奴统治着整个西域，都是他统一的。那个汉朝统一西域，主要是和这个匈奴打，那时候已经打得很激烈了。
The first move of the Han Empire was to begin farming in Luntai and Yuli. The first opposition they encountered was from the Liulan kingdom under the Huns. In 77 BC, General Hua Guang sent his advisor Fu Jieze with a death squad to Liulan. Fu entered the palace and beheaded the Liulan king, shocking the kingdom, which was soon submitted to Han authority. Kucha became the next target of the Han dynasty. The Huns were in a panic and sent Kucha nobles to attack Han troops farming in Luntai, killing their leader, Lai Dan.
曹魏也是一个武官，他带了这个5万人吧，这先一起问罪求子嘛，这你为什么要杀赖丹？
King Jiangbin of Kucha said the decision to kill Lai Dan was made by his father when he was king. The large foreign army had him trapped like a rat in a corner. Kucha was a place on the Silk Road where major civilizations of the world met. Now, the kingdom was at its own crossroads. It had to rely on a major power or disappear under the sands of time. Jiangbin felt as though his kingdom was like a leaf in the wind, completely out of his control. He finally decided to embrace a new era under the Han Empire. He opened the gates of Kucha, welcoming the Han troops, and handed over the man who killed Lai Dan.
项斌他这个脑子比较清醒，他一发现这个吴孙和汉族联婚，发展很快。 所以相边他就要提出来5岁的解忧生的娃娃叫第10联姻。他曾经到中原待了1年，回来以后就是学这个汉文的文化，修城墙，这个仪仗队也想学这个汉族人。由于这个香槟，比较开明，倒向了汉族这一边，所以汉族的统一西域加快了步伐。
Mark on all of us. Russian explorer Pyotr Kozlov found a huge jade stone at the Subash ruins. Perhaps it is the jade footprint of the Buddha mentioned in the Great Tongue records on the western region. How did Kumarajiva, a monk who was born here, maintain his beliefs during the area's ups and downs? Tune in for part 3, Buddha's Jade Footprint.